Okay, so now I'm going to peel the score tape off of my hinges on the side where I only put the one piece of score tape. The other side you're going to leave on for now. And I just peel off the score tape and fold that hinge over. Do you see how fast this is going? I love this. This is so much easier than doing all the measuring. And if you like that stuff, awesome. And I do like it, I mean, but it's just not my favorite part. So, now I have my hinge all put together. And I already put the tape on this side. So I'm going to angle the edges now. I'm just going to go along, and when you angle the edges, if you leave about an 1/8 inch between the hinge and where you start to angle it, it gives your pages about an 1/8 inch lift. But please note that you want an 1/8 inch on both sides, because if one of them is an 1/8 inch and the other one, like, you didn't leave any room, your page is going to be crooked. There you go. So I got all the bottom done. And then I'm just looking. You'd rather have it not enough than too much, because you can always manually move that 1/8 inch. I'm going to do the other side, and then we're going to go back to the page because the Cameo is done cutting. And I'm sorry that I don't have cut files available for, like, the Cricut, if you have the Cricut, because I have the Cricut software. I haven't played with it enough to figure it out. The Silhouette software is like AutoCAD based, and I am a mechanical engineer, and I did take AutoCAD in school, so I know how to use it pretty well. There are some features that I wish they would add to it, because it would make that so much easier, but it works. Okay, well, one day maybe I'll do a tutorial on how to make pages. Okay, so like I said, you have about an 1/8 inch here, and then you about a 45-degree angle or so there, and the pages are going to slide down on top of that. And this is going to go right here. This is 2 inches from hinge to hinge, and then you got about 1.5 inches on either side to that can cover up with your back and front cover. Okay, setting this aside because I want to pull my page off here. Pull my page. So these are the cuts. And again, all the bend lines are perforated. And I used the medium perforation so that there was still some guts to it. And this is what you're going to be throwing away. This little tiny piece here, and this little tiny piece here. And you can even cut this out and use it, you know, keep it if you are plan on using stickers that you need to back with something. You can definitely use those cuts, but I don't need to. The other thing you can do, you can take and make your own little square in the software, and use it for another photo mat, or, you know, whatever. I would suggest that if you alter the files, you save as, and you put it under a different name, so that if something goes horribly wrong, you can always re-download it. Or you can always go back to the original. Like, I do it. I have files that I've altered, but I have one that's called, I have a folder that's called whatever, original. Especially the ones that I get from, like, I can't remember the name of the company. BNS is the email that I get. When I get those, when I purchase those kinds of cut files and I alter them, I always have an original. I even keep the zip files because they take up less space. And then I have them in my, save them in my computer. And FYI, I usually keep them on a flash drive or SD card in case my computer crashes, along with all my pictures. Obviously, my pictures are even more important because those cannot be repurchased. While I was babbling on, I took off all the pieces to the pages. And I'm going to get another piece of cardstock, since I have a total everybody's being really good. I haven't been interrupted one time. Okay. I am going to finish this before we get into the pages, because we're nearly done. I am going to use score tape for the hinge. And the score tape, I'm going to use the 1/2 inch. Of course, you can use 2 pieces of 1/4 inch. You can use red line tape. I've seen people use hot glue, but again, I think when you use hot glue or liquid glue, it messes with the pliability of the hinges. They're not very pliable, I guess. And I want this completely covered. All 4 sides. That one almost went off, but it didn't. And in the middle. And the page is already done. That is how fast that cuts. There's not a whole lot to it. The perforation takes the longest time. And this is probably the most expensive part of these albums, I think. Which, what is this? $5 for a roll? And you don't even come close to using a whole roll. But still, it's an expense. Okay. So I just covered this hinge. I do not want this hinge pulling away from this spine. If that happens, it's very disappointing, and I've seen it happen. Fortunately, it hasn't happened to me, but I've seen it happen to other people, and it's very sad because by the time you put all the effort into these albums, to have the whole hinge come up and your pages start flapping around, you end up with a bubble under your hinge. It's not, it's just sad. It's very sad for that to happen. Because it is a labor of love. I've been making albums for about 2 years, and it is. I've never sold an album. I tried to once, but the very first one I ever did, which was just mine, and it was awful. I will tell you, it was awful. I give all my albums away. I've kept 2, 3. They're my daughters. I still have some sitting here, but that's just because I'm waiting to find somebody to give them to. But anyways, besides the point, I had a friend, who's actually my daughter's babysitter from a few years ago. I had a friend say, I'll pay you for it, and I just sat and I thought, I'm gonna have to get up over this, you guys. Sorry if my head's in the way. Okay, again, line these 2 hinges up with this fold you've made here, and it's going to give you about an 1/8 inch on the top and the bottom. And as long as you make it straight between the top and the bottom, your hinge should be straight. You do not want your hinge crooked. You want to do it as good as possible. Okay, that looks good. Now, I am going to push in the middle. I am not pushing on either side yet. And then I am going to take the back of my bone folder and push right down into these cracks of the spine. And now I am going to push the outsides of that spine down. So you get a nice fold in the spine area right there. Let me see that. Okay, I'm going to work my spine a little bit back and forth. Once you put that score tape on the back of it, it does make it a little harder to work with, but nothing bad. You don't want your pages flopping all over the place, they fall out. Okay, trash. Alright you guys, how exciting is this? This is exciting. How many people have these matte stacks? You bought them because they're like, oh, they're so pretty. Never use them. That's me. This would also work well with a 6x6 pad. I don't know if you'd be able to get a whole one done with this one 6x6 pad, depending on how many pieces of paper are in it, obviously. It is also good for scraps. Just using up scraps from your albums, just like I used up the chipboard scraps. It's great for using the scraps from the album. Okay, now, before I unload my second page, I'm going to put my first page together, so there's no question about the cut files. First thing I'm going to do, this is a tag, and this is a file folder, and both of these are inserts, so I am going to fold this file folder over, just crease it with my bone folder, whoops, along the perforated edge, and I'm going to stick this under my mat along with those other ones to flatten. This is a tag, it's an insert for the pockets, and this is a hole reinforcement. And if you wanted to copy and paste these onto a different color so that your hole reinforcement would be a different color than your cardstock, go for it. Okay, I'm going around the hole and with my glue, that was my wet glue, and I'm going to stick my hole reinforcement right there. I put a little bit too much glue on that, but that's okay. It'll dry. Don't wipe it off because then it just smears all over the place and then it's shiny. And I'm using Scotch Quick Dry adhesive with the old nozzle. You cannot get these anymore, so if you have one, don't throw it away. The new nozzles, I heard, I haven't used one, are not good. So that was, I keep taking that nozzle off. Okay, that's my tag for right now. I'm going to stick it under my mat with this other stuff. So, this is the actual page. This is what you need to make the pages. I don't remember what I was saying before that. Okay. Sorry if I lose track of what I'm saying. I am not going to draw on this because you may be able to see it through the other side. This is the base page. This is the fold over flap. And this is the belly band. Let me go through this album and show you guys each part. This is the base page, the fold over flap, and the belly band. Okay, those are the three main page components. You're perforated here and here. So I give you some measurements on this page. I know I've not been doing that, but this is an 8-inch page with a perforation. So if you were cutting this, you have a page that's 8 inches by 3.5, scored from the top at a 1/2 inch, and then, hang on, 4 1/4. So a 1/2 inch and then 4 1/4. So if you were cutting and scoring these pages, that's what you'd do. The hinge is 3 3/4, which makes sense. Okay, so 3 3/4. So if you now if you were, I can't give you the measurements for the hinges except that they're 3 3/4 this way. The other measurements are Kathy orders. But if you have seen other tutorials online, that'll give it to you. Okay, so 3 3/4 hinges. I'll go over this real quick. 4 by 4 1/4, 2 by 4 for the base for the cardstock. Bakers, wake up! My dog's in here with me. He's sleeping and he's kicking. And then the covers are, you know, a 1/2 inch bigger than your cards or your chipboard. Okay, so I am folding along this side. Again, 8 inches by 3.5. Folding on my, what did I say, 4 1/4, and folding on my 1/2 inch. Okay. I am going to use my bone folder. You don't really have to use the bone folder because the perforation's there. It's really easy to fold. Now, I am going to put this over top. And I didn't make this shorter to compensate for that, but I like doing that because one, when I put my tag in there, it won't get stuck on this. And two, it kind of bubbles it up a little bit, so it's easier to put your tag in. It's not, if you did it this way, it's super flat, and it's kind of hard to get your tag in there. But if you take it and put that along the outside, it bubbles up. Now, if you were folding that by hand, your paper may have stretched, and Lakers, wake up. Your paper may have stretched and it may not allow you to do that. Okay, for the pages, I am going to use score tape. And you can use liquid glue for this, it wouldn't matter. So this is my base page. And on the inside of that flap, I am putting my score tape and sticking it down. Okay, so there's the first part of my base page. Simple, simple. Now my flap measures 3.5 by 3.5. Well, that's simple. 3.5 by 3.5. And it's scored at a 1/2 inch. So by the time you're done, you get a 3.5 by 3. Okay, I'm going to fold that score over. And this is, I'm going to put this on the inside I am going to put it on the same side that this is on. One reason is that all my stuff that needs hidden, which are going to be these two, are going to be on the same side of the paper. Okay, and then the other thing I like to do is I leave just a teeny tiny bit of this paper showing. I mean, that is probably like a 64th of an inch right here. And it's not necessary. You could butt it up against if you wanted, but I like that little bitty just sliver of paper there. And again, I'm going to use my score tape. Once we get these pages put together, we'll be done with the score tape. And it's still not a lot of score tape. Not nearly as much, of course, as larger albums. You would figure so much. Okay, so I'm just going to turn this so I can see it and give myself just a sliver, and you're going to have a sliver on the top and bottom. So let me show you. I'm going to use this scrap piece of white paper. If you could see, you have, let me see if I can do this better. Okay, you have a little sliver left over right here, and then you have maybe a 32nd of an inch here, and a 32nd of an inch there. But if you were to butt all those up against it and make it, you know, right on, it would be fine too. Both of your seams are on this side of the paper, and then your belly band's going to go back here, but I am going to mat before I put the belly band on. So let me give you the measurements for the belly band, and then I am going to go off camera and make the rest of my pages. The belly band is 1 inch by 4.5 inches, and it's scored at 1/2 inch and 4 inches. So you have a 1/2 inch on either side. And you can miter those edges, but I'm not going to. It did not affect the functionality. So I score and fold at 1/2 inch and at 4 inches. So once I mat, and we'll do this here in a little bit, once I mat, this belly band is going to go right there on the center. Or you can put it like that if you want, but I'm going to put mine like this. Okay, so I am going to finish cutting out the other 7 pages. Well, I got one waiting. So I have to cut 6 pages. I'm going to put together 7 pages, and then we'll be back and we will start decorating with our pattern paper. Completely done with the silhouette now. All the cut files are made. I've decided to go through the page one more time with you, just in case I missed something the first time. So this is what cuts out. Oh, and by the way, for the 7 pages that I did off camera, it took 18 minutes. So I'm timing myself. Write this down. 18 minutes. It's from the beginning of the video plus the 18 minutes I just did. We are going to see how long it takes to do this. So the first thing we do is take our big tag, and I'm going to add my hole reinforcement with some glue. Okay. I already folded my file folder in half. That was here. I already folded that in half. I'm sticking them all under my mat. So we'll straighten up. Okay. Belly band, we're going to score at a 1/2 inch on each side. Well, don't have to score it. It's perforated. You just fold it. And that one gets set aside because we're going to put that on after we mat. Now this one, score on the perforations, fold on the perforations, and then we're going to tuck inside. So the flap goes on the outside. So we're done with our silhouette, and we're just about to be done with our score tape. I guess we still have to put the cover on, or the backs of the cover and the cover. I use score tape for that. Now, totally mismeasured this, so I gotta put a little piece on there. Alrighty. Now, fold under, okay, and like I said before, that gives it a nice pucker so that it's easier to slide your tags in and out of. And then here's your flap. Again, fold on the perforation. Probably won't need the bone folder anymore either. And then make sure this is going to be the side that the hinge goes in. This is the side that the tag goes in. This is going to go on, the flap goes on the side that the tag goes in. And I put it on the same side of the paper that this seam is on. It's just so you can cover all your seams at one time. Okay. Score tape on. And then this is where the tag goes in. I give myself about a 64th of an inch, just a little sliver, and about an 1/8 inch or 16th inch at the top and bottom. And I leave that 16th of an inch at the top and bottom because that way you don't have to be precise. You don't have to have this exactly straight in order for this and this to line up. That gives you a little bit of leeway. So I like giving this little bit here and there. Okay, so I have 8 pages now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I have 7 pages now. I forgot to make a page. Alright, I'll be back in one moment.